Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great week. It's Thursday, August 21st, 1:36 p.m. Central Daylight Time, local time here in Denton, Texas. I am just leaving the TA truck stop in Denton, Texas. And for those of you who've been following the channel for a long time, you know that this is where my truck got messed up. Some young Ukrainian kid, like 21, 22, driving a flatbed. I was parked waiting for somebody to back into a spot, and they just made a left-hand turn and didn't see that I was there, and their trailer went over the top of me. All right, come on, go. These lights suck. It's a really, really, really long light, but it gives us almost no time. Please don't turn red. I don't want to set 15 minutes to another light. Bear with me. Oh my goodness. It says that I need to do 2 miles on the frontage road. Just a second here. This lane's going turn only, and these four-wheelers are not letting me move over. And they knew that it went right turn only. They were making the damn right turn. Don't you love people? All right, so I'm about to hop onto, I don't know if it's a state road or a highway, 380. And I'm going to take that to Highway 287. About to hop onto 380 westbound, and then 287 northwestbound. Right lane closed ahead. Come on, four-wheeler. Don't just... God, I hate it when people just sit alongside me and speed match me. I had to hit my brakes pretty hard to get this idiot off my side. And it's obvious that they're not paying attention because they flew by me and then hopped into the right lane when we have all these lane closure signs. It's amazing how little people pay attention out here. We should have a lot more accidents than what we do have because of how many bad drivers there are. Yeah, Google, this was really bad advice. I should have hopped onto the interstate instead of driving through this crap construction. That's what I get for taking Google's advice. Still got another mile to go. But who knows? Maybe the exit onto 380 is worse than driving through this. This has been a pretty crappy day so far. So let's go through the drama that I've been dealing with today. So initially I was thinking that, okay, so let's backpedal a little bit before that. Let's start a little before that. This load was scheduled to pick up a preloaded trailer between 8 a.m. and midnight today. So basically I could pick it up at any time after 8 a.m. today. I could pick it up tomorrow if I wanted to. But I was wanting to pick it up as soon as possible. And I was thinking, you know what? Let's go ahead and see if we can't beat morning traffic and leave Terrell, Texas at like 4 a.m. It's about an hour drive. No, I was going to leave at about 5 a.m. Get over to the shipper at about 6 a.m., 6:30, about an hour and a half to 2 hours before the appointment. In 800 feet, turn right onto US 380 West. Those pickups did not yield to the ramp like the sign says. Do these people, can they not read? Or do they just like not know what it means? Or what? What's the deal here? Come on. Oh my goodness. It's just non-stop off ramp. I'm looking for an opening, but they're merging so slow off the off ramp that even if there is an opening, by the time, oh great, here comes a truck just flying down the off ramp. By the time there's an opening for me, there's some asshole like that just comes flying off the interstate. One of those people that believes you shouldn't touch your brakes until you get all the way off the interstate. That's some super trucker knowledge right there. That's how the super truckers do it. They don't touch their brakes until they get all the way off the interstate. So I woke up at 4 a.m. on my alarm, and I laid there in bed for a second or two, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? That Ream warehouse in Louisville that I'm picking up from is an absolute shit show. I expect that they're not going to have the trailer ready early. It might be ready late. And there is nowhere to park around there. That HP company is still there. I think it's a bunch of Mexican drivers. Like almost none of them speak English. And they just park everywhere. It's hard to get in and out of the place because they're just parked along the streets everywhere. They're parked in the middle of the road. So I thought about that for a minute. I was like, I'm probably going to get into a situation where I'm going to drive all the way over there. I'm going to start my 14-hour clock real early in the morning. I'm going to get there. It's not going to be ready. I'm going to have to leave the property, go find a place to park, and then I'm going to have to drive back over there who knows when, and it's just going to ruin my whole day. It's going to ruin my hours for the day. It's just going to be a major pain in the butt. And I was like, you know what? It's just not worth it. I'm going to wait until like 10 a.m. to pick the load up. I'm going to expect that they're going to get it ready late. So that's what I did. I waited until somewhere around 9 a.m. to leave the truck stop in Terrell. And that's when we ran into issue number 2. Well, no. This is issue number 1, isn't it? Yeah. Up to this point, there was just a possibility of an issue. So issue number 1, I was going to top off fuel at the TA in Terrell. Well, none of their fuel pumps work. So I could not get fuel in Terrell. So then I had to redo my entire fuel route. And Denton, Texas was only like 2 cents a gallon more expensive. And to get fuel at the same price, there was a place off Bonnie View, TA on Bonnie View, that was 1 cent a gallon cheaper. But it was quite a ways out of the way. I don't know how many extra miles it would have added to the trip, but it wasn't worth 1 cent per gallon. So I was like, all right, Denton is only like 5 miles out of my way. I'm just going to be driving like 2-3 miles north and then 2-3 miles back south from Highway 380 because I was planning on taking 380 anyway. So redid the fuel route, drove up to Louisville to the warehouse, and I almost couldn't get into the place because one of the HP drivers they were parked along both sides of the roadway, and they turned it into like a really, really tight single lane. And one of the HP drivers was parked diagonally so that their trailer was sticking about 3 feet out into the roadway, what little roadway existed. And that was the trailer at the very front, like next to the entrance. So I knocked on the door, tried to get them to move. They wouldn't answer the door. They wouldn't move. So I had to drive around them, and I barely managed to get around them. It was like 2 inches of space. It was extremely tight. But managed to get around them, get into the place, get checked in, and they tell me that they don't have any empty spots. So I'm going to have to pull my trailer, my loaded trailer, out of the spot to put my empty into it. It's 100 degrees outside. And I'm going to have to do like shuttle, like yard dog work in their yard, pulling trailers out of spots and putting them in. Like, that really pissed me off. But I had to do it. Like, they didn't give me an option. I mean, I could have canceled the load and been like, yeah, I don't do yard dog work. But that would be petty. So I got absolutely drenched in sweat. It's like I went swimming. My clothes are so soaking wet from shuttling trailers around in their parking lot. And then when I was trying to leave, one of the security guards was being really lazy. And basically one of the security guards, shipping and receiving, they were security plus shipping and receiving. They were multi-role people. And one of them was doing all the work and the other one was being really lazy. And she was just over there talking about how, you know, she can't do that. You know, you need to go do that. And he's like, I've already done everything. Like, they got into an argument in front of me. Well, not like, it was a very professional argument. It was him basically saying everything that he's done. And she was asking him to, like, process my paperwork. And she wasn't doing anything. And he was in the middle of doing a ton of crap. And she hadn't done anything all day. And, like, they were just sitting there arguing very professionally. And I feel for the guy because I've worked with people that were really lazy like that before, and we didn't have adequate supervision. And how are you supposed to get, you know, your coworker, somebody that is the same like rank or the same title, the same job as you? How are you supposed to tell them to do their damn job? Like, they just create a whole bunch of extra work for you. I've worked with a lot of people like that in my life. It sucks. But she said that she already did my paperwork and he just needed to go check me out, you know, put the seal on the trailer, inspect it. So he goes out there to do all that, and there's no paperwork on the cart like she said there was. So he went inside to collect the paperwork. The paperwork wasn't inside either. She never did the paperwork. So he had to go print out all the paperwork and then bring it out to me, and then I had to sign the paperwork for every single stop. It was like plus like an extra page. There were like, just a second here, I'm catching up with a slower vehicle and I got a four-wheeler that was flying by me, and then when it caught up with me, it slowed down alongside me just so it could run me into the back of this truck. I just love people. So, you know, out there in 100-degree weather, I'm having to sign not just signature, but company name, print my name, signature, date, and I think tractor number as well. I had to fill all that out on like 4 different pages. Then we got everything ready to go, took off, and I went to the TA. And the TA does not have DEF. The TA that I fueled up at in Terrell. I put 60 gallons in when I first got there, and I tried to put DEF in as well because I was only at half a tank of DEF, and the DEF pumps didn't work. And then when I just got fuel again at the TA, well, I tried to get fuel a second time at the TA in Terrell, and the fuel pumps, DEF pumps, nothing worked. Then I just tried to get fuel at the TA in Denton, and I was able to put fuel in, but the DEF pumps don't work. This is the reason I always top off DEF. Every time I fuel up, if DEF is available, I top off DEF. Unless it's something, ridiculous, like, I just filled up and now I'm putting in, I'm still at almost a completely full tank, and I'm just throwing in 50 gallons to top it off before, going somewhere. Then, yeah, in that situation, I sometimes won't put DEF in. I won't top off DEF. But generally, I always top off DEF because it's so common to run into situations where the DEF pumps don't work, and buying DEF by the box is insane. It's like $12, $13 a gallon if you buy it by the box. It is crazy expensive already at the pump. It's like $5 a gallon at the pump. But it's 2 to 3 times that if you buy it in the box. And then I was stuck at the pump because somebody went inside to grab something to eat. And they were blocking not just me, but the person to the left of me was in a position where they couldn't get out as well because the person pulled up in front of my pump. Drama, drama, drama. But now we're rolling. And I have my trip plan only goes as far as the TA in Amarillo. Well, one of the TAs in Amarillo. I'm not sure how many there are. There's several Pilot Flying J's in Amarillo, and I think there's several TA Petros. But I'm going to top off fuel again in Amarillo because fuel gets really expensive past that point. It's the last place with like reasonably priced fuel. And I'm still at a half a tank of DEF. I don't want to get really low on DEF. I've only been forced to buy DEF by the box once. And that was up in North Dakota. It was during one of the Arctic blasts, and all of the DEF pumps were frozen. Like nobody had DEF at the pump because DEF, the freezing point of DEF is the same as water, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And diesel 2, which is the standard diesel everybody uses, the freezing point of that is also the freezing point of water, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But it takes diesel a long time to gel up and freeze. Whereas DEF, it freezes pretty quick. And they put anti-freezing stuff. They treat the diesel in the winter generally at most of these places, so it won't freeze at the pumps. Our traffic is finally starting to thin out a bit. So right now, the trip plan is this. I'm going to top off fuel in Amarillo, which is 300 miles away. It's about 5 hours. And I should have enough drive time left to drive a couple of hours past Amarillo. I'm not sure exactly how much drive time I have left. But I'll probably drive about 2 hours past Amarillo, try to find a rest area or something to pull over at. And then I don't really have any place that I need to stop at until I get to Kingman, Arizona. And then I have 2 stops near Kingman. I have to stop at the Loves in Kingman to get the California car permit, $105, which is an absolute ripoff. All they do is plug a little tester into your onboard diagnostic, your OBD, and it tells them whether or not your DEF system is enabled electronically. Is your DEF enabled in the computer? Yes or no? That's all it does. That is the permit. That's all the permit is. It is absolutely ridiculous. It is so stupid that they have people like that. They've come up with this new form of taxation. Gotta love California. Second here. It's by pulling off the road. But yeah, so just before Kingman, I need to stop at that Loves and get the car permit. And then just past Kingman, in between Kingman and Vegas, I need to stop at a TA and top off fuel again. And that's basically all the stops that I have planned until I get to my first delivery. I plan on stopping at a TA Petro in Reno, Nevada, while I wait on my delivery appointment Monday. And I'm probably going to get there Saturday evening. Would be my guess, is that I'll be there probably Saturday evening. So I might be able to do a 34 while I wait to do my delivery Monday morning. Monday is going to suck because I have a delivery in downtown Reno at 6 a.m. The only good thing about it is that it's at 6 a.m. and the place opens at 5:30 a.m. So I'm going to get there, I'm going to try to be there at 5:45 a.m. I'm going to try to be there just a couple of minutes before 6, like 10 or 15 minutes before 6, somewhere between 5:45 and 6. And hopefully they get me unloaded really quick. I doubt that they will, because I think my very first delivery is like the majority of the trailer. I think it's almost the whole trailer is my first delivery. So it's probably going to take them an hour or two. And then I have to drive to Redding, California, and I'm going to be driving on some sketchy roads, some scenic byways. You don't ever want to be driving a truck on something listed as a scenic route. But I'm going to be driving on scenic routes to get to Redding. Otherwise, I won't be able to make the appointment for my second delivery if I drive down through the second here. The car in front of me just threw their four-ways on, and a truck just hopped out in the left lane to pass me. All right, their four-ways are off. It's like every time there's something going on in front of me where I need to change lanes, somebody pops out to my left, blocks me in. Yeah, I don't think that mud flap on the right side's doing anything besides waving at me. Got about 6 miles to go until we get on to 287. Traffic will probably pick up when we get on to 287. So let's enjoy this last 5 miles of nice space. And I-40 is probably going to be crazy. What I should probably do is switch to nighttime driving, because I-40 is going to be crazy. And I'm going to be taking Highway 95 all the way across Nevada. And that is a bi-directional road. I think I would probably prefer to drive that at night. I don't know. Would it be better day or night? I'm thinking less traffic at night. But it's a fairly busy road for being a bi-directional. I can't believe they haven't widened that thing out. And people get really sporty on that road. Last time I drove on that road, I had my windshield cracked because, people just don't like being behind trucks. And I had a four-wheeler come flying around me. And every time I've had my window cracked, it's been by a four-wheeler accelerating. When they're accelerating, they kick up more stuff off the road than whenever they're just cruising. And a four-wheeler passing me on 95 kicked up a rock and just cracked the windshield. That was 20 years ago, though. I haven't been on 95 since the last time I was in trucking. And I got a fix-it ticket for that cracked windshield. Because the company I was driving for at the time refused to fix the windshield. I only drove for that company for, I think, around 3 months. And that was one of the reasons that I quit. They got so mad when I quit. Like, they yelled and screamed and cussed at me and, like, threatened to like, ruin my driving record and all kinds of stuff by putting all kinds of crap on my DAC. It was, like, one of the worst companies I've ever worked for. I think Swift is probably the worst. And that one was probably the second worst. But yeah, they refused to get stuff fixed out over the road. They always wanted to do everything at their terminal, and they only had one terminal, is in Phoenix, Arizona. So they'd be like, "Oh, we'll just get it next time you're in the terminal." I'm like, "No, I can't be driving around with DOT violations." They're like, "Oh, well, if you get a ticket, we'll pay for it." I'm like, "No. It still goes against my record." And it's just like, it was like talking to a wall with them. And they also expected for me to pay for everything. And they said that they would pay me back. They would reimburse me. So every time I put the truck in the shop, or every time I had to buy something for the truck, permits or something like that, like, they didn't do the permits on the truck. I had to buy every single permit for the truck. Well, maybe not every single one. I'm sure there were some of them that they bought. But I basically, every time I drove into a state, I had to go buy all the permits for that state. And we were doing, our main contracts for hazardous waste, so we were getting, like, all the permits. And then when it came time for them to reimburse me, they would always... Just a second here, this car just cut me off and slowed down in front of me. they would fight me on reimbursing me. Like, they would refuse to pay for permits. I would put the truck into the shop at the dealer to get work done, and they would refuse to pay for that. Like, it was crazy. Really, I should have quit before I did. But I just kept giving them more and more chances, and they just kept screwing me over more and more. Oh my goodness, man. I feel like a F1 race car driver doing these S-turns. What in the hell is going on here? Oh. Whole bunch of people stopped for the left turn. Are we on 287 now? Yeah? It's kind of weird. Like, I don't remember stop signs on 287. But that wasn't really a stop sign. It was more of like a caution sign. Just a second here. Traffic isn't that bad. Alright, so the truck in front of me appears to have sped up. I was catching up with the truck in front of me, so I was trying to watch that vehicle's speed and then the speed of all the vehicles around me, and I was trying to figure out, like, if I needed to pass, when I could pass. Is this pickup going for it? This pickup is going for it. That's one of the things that sucks about highways. People just turn on and off from anywhere. All right, looks like we got a wide load topping the hill right now. You know, something I haven't done that I was planning on doing at the TA back there, but I got distracted at the TA because they didn't take, I had to go inside to get the fuel because they had the ability to get fuel at the pump disabled. It just said pay inside. And then when I got finished fueling, there was traffic backed out into the roadway, so I was trying to hurry up and get off the pump, but the guy in front of me was inside grabbing something to eat. But what I need to do is check my bills of lading. I skimmed at the very first one, and it has the delivery in Sparks, Nevada. And that's not true. It's in Reno. Reno and Sparks are right next to each other. So it's a minor issue, but customers and brokers will refuse to pay over technicalities like that. So I I need to double check the paperwork. See if the rest of the address is correct. Yeah, 950 South Rock Boulevard. Oops. I glanced at the bill of lading and I drifted out of my lane for a second. I waited until there was nobody around me to do that. There's nobody for about a half mile behind me. 950 South Rock Boulevard. I remember that's the address, and that's in like downtown Reno. All right, are these two traveling together? These two with their amber lights flashing? Or is the back one going to try to pass whenever I get closer? I don't know. We're about to find out. I hope they're traveling together. But there's nobody behind me for about a half mile. So we're going to get our pass on. Going to speed up to 70 to get around them faster. That flatbed doesn't look like it's a wide load, but whatever that piece of equipment is right there, yeah, it's a little bit over width. All right, I need to grab another soda. I need to replenish the fluids. Ooh, a Hawaiian punch. Yay. I like that. The only one that I pull out of there that I don't like is the Sprite knockoff. That one is not horrible, but it's not very good either. But yeah, having the wrong city name, I may have to, I'll tell the broker about it and see what they want to do about it. As long as I do my due diligence, I'm getting paid on it. If the broker says, nah, we're not going to worry about getting that fixed, and the customer refuses to pay over it, then the broker, the agent, the Landstar agent still has to pay me. But I'm going to double check the address to make sure it is Reno, Nevada and not Sparks, Nevada. And check all the other addresses. Just a second here. Is this person taking the exit? Yep. I just love it when people just slow down without, they don't put on a signal, nothing. They just start slowing down out of the blue. And then once they start taking the exit, then they throw their signal on the I meant to do that indicator, because that's how that works. Nice cold Hawaiian punch. Tastes good. Yeah, I didn't even verify the total weight. I was just so worn out from doing the drop and hook, because it wasn't just I had to drop my trailer, hook up to the other trailer, drop it, hook back up to my trailer, drop it, hook back up to the other trailer. I also had to slide tandems on both trailers. And I had to go put straps in the trailer, which that may not sound like a big deal to crawl into the back of the trailer and put a couple of straps on, but crawling in and out of the trailer is not easy. And then it's 100 degrees outside and the sun's out. The inside of that trailer is like 150. It's like an oven in there. So even spending 5 minutes inside of there is just unbearable. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that I kind of half-assed on the drop and hook. Things that I need to double check. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so 280 miles. So I'll probably take a 30-minute break when I get fuel in Amarillo. I should be able to make it to Amarillo without taking a 30, but I'll take a 30 there to recoup some of my time. It won't be a full 3 hours. Just a second here. I can't really see around me, and that truck that just passed me was slamming on their brakes. Trying to see what in the hell is going on up. All right, it looks like it's just rolling hills. Sorry, I got quiet. There's a pack of vehicles passing me right now. I'm getting sucked up in this pack. Yeah, come over real close. That's safe. That's the smart thing to do. Just get real close in front of me and then match my speed. Hell, slow down a little bit. Now they're starting to pull away. Why do people do that? Just pull over in front of me and then slow down. Like 20 feet in front of my truck. I have this mystical device called a cruise control, and it seems like I'm about the only person that uses one. Just a second here. I'm just waiting for some space in front of me. The RV and that car are way too close together. I don't know if they're traveling together or what the deal is, but I can't see much of anything around that RV. And it's traveling way too close to the car in front of it. And it's finally at a decent distance in front of me, so we're good. And something that's really, it's been mostly bad news up to this point. We got some good news too. Trailer doesn't need to go in the shop. I thought at first the ABS was out on it, but it's really hard to test the ABS light during daytime. No, apparently that RV and that car are not traveling together. So I couldn't see whether or not the ABS light was coming on, and I thought it was not working. I thought the ABS light was not working. So ends up there was another truck driver that was picking up a trailer right next to me, and I asked him if they'd come over and help me check the ABS real quick. And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And he said it was working. I don't trust him. I was like, the light came on, and I'm not sure if he was looking at the correct light. But he was nice enough to help me, and I didn't want to, call him a liar or tell him he is stupid. It looked like he was looking at the correct light. And I asked him, I said it came on and then went back off to try to make sure, he wasn't looking at the marker light. Because the marker light will just stay on. He's like, yeah, it came on and then went off. Like, all right. So when it gets dark, I'm going to check it again. And if you're curious about all these vehicles flying by me, the speed limit is 75 for all vehicles. And I have my cruise set at 65. So I'm going 10 miles per hour below the speed limit. I don't generally set my cruise higher than 65. And we are fueling up at TA Petro again. My first few years as an owner-operator, I basically always used TA Petro. It's basically been until the last 2 years, or the last year and a half or so, that I've been using Pilot Flying J. It's been about a year and a half that I've been using Pilot Flying J. And before that was TA Petro, because the fuel prices were just not competitive. But Landstar negotiated better rates with Pilot Flying J and Loves a couple of years ago. 2 years ago, you could use any of the majors you wanted. There was enough reasonable fuel prices at all three majors that you could have used whichever one you wanted. Google says there's an object on road ahead, and I can't see anything in front of me. So let's just hope we don't hit it. I think I see it just around the turn in the left lane. I can't tell if it's in the left or right lane. Somebody just switched to the left lane to avoid hitting it. There's nobody around me right now. All right, we missed it. There was some in the left lane, some in the right lane. You do not want to run over pieces of tire. That stuff is really sturdy, and if your tires catch it and throw it up, it can rip air lines, it can rip electrical lines, it can damage all kinds of stuff. Tire tread can cause a lot of damage. But yeah, when we got new fuel contracts this year on January 1st, Love's was no longer competitive. It was only TA Petro and Pilot Flying J. And the type of discounts that we have at TA Petro and Pilot Flying J are generally, I think they're called cost plus. Some people refer to it as a variable rate discount because it's different at each location. But I think that it's referred to as a cost plus. So it's whatever their cost is plus something, 20 cents or something like that. But at some of the Love's locations, and I think also at some of the Pilot Flying J locations, I think we get flat rate, which flat rate fuel discounts, I've never seen a good one. If you are on some kind of flat rate fuel discount card where you're getting like 10, 15, 20 cents a gallon off, that is horrible. That is really bad. Especially with fuel prices as high as they are, the percentage discount that you're getting, like if the fuel price is only $1 a gallon and you're getting a flat 15 cents a gallon off, then you're getting a 15% discount. But with fuel at like $4 a gallon, $5 a gallon, you're not getting 15% anymore. That 15 cent a gallon gets down to be like 15 divided by 5. I don't know, what is that? 15 divided by 5, 3%. So your 15% at $5 a gallon turns into a 3% discount. Whereas if you're on variable or cost plus discounts, like every good fuel card I'm aware of, then you consistently get good discounts regardless of the fuel price. Your discount grows with the price of fuel. So when fuel prices get really high, our discounts will get up to like $1.50 a gallon. When the fuel prices get really low, our discounts will turn, they'll get down to like 30, 40 cents a gallon. And the bigger our discount is when we're doing cost plus, that means that these truck stops are screwing people over even more because we're on cost plus. So if we're getting a $1.50 a gallon discount, that means that their price at the pump is way above their cost. They're making like $1.50 a gallon plus whatever our cost plus contract is. So they're probably making $1.70, $2 a gallon profit off of every single gallon. That is insane. So yeah, these truck stops are making a killing on fuel. A second here. This van, there's like nobody behind me for a half mile, and this van is racing to get in front of me. They just realized they did not have the acceleration to get in front of me, and they backed out of it. Bowie High School. Or Bowie, I don't know. Yeah, traffic is thinning nicely. Should pick up when we get to Wichita Falls and then drop back off again once we get past it. Wichita Falls is a decent sized town. You know, something I was just thinking about on this trip is I'm not going to be driving through any major metropolitan areas aside from Dallas. I don't consider Albuquerque or Amarillo or Las Vegas or Reno, Nevada. I don't consider any of those places to be major metropolitan areas. They're decent sized towns, but I don't consider them to be major metropolitan areas. I would say that Dallas, LA, Chicago, Portland, Seattle, you know, those are just a second here. I think I have an air leak. I can hear a hissing noise and my air pressure we're going to pull over at this gas station and figure out where this air leak is coming from. I hope it's not my truck. Yeah, I definitely have an air leak.
In a quarter mile, slight left on the US 287 North ramp.
My air compressor is able to keep up with it, but man, I hope it's something easy like a loose connection. I can't see shit. This is a nasty looking, there's some big ass potholes. And that hissing just keeps getting louder and louder.
In 500 feet, make a U-turn.
Oh my goodness, this is some nasty, nasty pothole road. Let's try it. Oh my goodness. I want to park here for a second because I need it to be really quiet for air leaks. I want to park away from everybody. Okay, that's not a good sign. it's a tractor air leak. All right, it is an air brake. It is an air relay valve, an air brake relay valve. It's a cheap part in the grand scheme of part costs. And they're probably going to charge me $150 to install the damn thing. We're going to try to make it to the shop. The nearest shop on the way is Wichita Falls, which is 40 miles away. So we're going to try to make it 40 miles with an air leak. Now, how bad is the air leak? It's a very audible air leak, like it's hissing out really bad. The compressor is able to keep up with it though. So if it stays the way it currently is, then we should be able to make it without too much issue. How low is it getting? How low is the air pressure getting? Well, it's different when we're driving on the interstate because at higher RPMs, the air compressor is putting out more. But even at the speed we're going at right now, the air compressor is filling the tank up. So basically, what's happening is the air pressure is dropping down to 100. The air compressor is kicking on, and it's continuing to drop down to like 95 psi. And then the air compressor is bringing it all the way up to 120 slowly. Well, it depends on RPMs. Like right now, it's bringing up the air pressure pretty quick now that we're getting up to speed. It was slowly when we were driving at low speeds. So the nearest truck stop in any direction, well, I think in any direction, that has a shop that is not like a mom and pop shop, but like a major, there's a Love's in Wichita Falls. There's nothing around me. There's nothing close, even headed back towards Dallas. So if I'm going to be traveling a long distance in any direction, I might as well continue going in the direction I need to go. And they told me that they're not going to be able to get to me today. So I'm going to have to stay the night at the Loves here in Wichita Falls, and they'll get to me in the morning. But that could change. You know, I may get there and maybe the mechanic's really cool and he's like, yeah, I can slam that in there today. You know, I can work it in between work orders or something like that. Right now we're at 105 and it's dropping down. I'm having to keep an eye on the air pressure. I don't know why it would drop down. Like if we get close to, you know, the emergency brake kickoff, I'm going to have to slam on the brakes and go for the shoulder, because you do not want the emergency brakes kicking off while you're going 65 miles an hour down the road. So it just let it get down to 95 PSI, and now it's back up to 105. Now we're up to like 110. We just hit 120 and the governor kicked off. 39 miles to go. So we got 39 miles of, you know, stressful watching the air gauges driving. I've never been in this situation where I've driven with an air leak. There was a guy I was talking to at the shop one time, and he was getting his air governor replaced, and I was like, really? What happened to your air governor? What was the symptom that it needed to be replaced? And he said that it wasn't kicking off. Like the air pressure would just keep climbing and climbing. He said that he was having to drive slow because the faster he would go, the higher the air pressure would get. And he said his air pressure was getting up to like 160 PSI at like 60 miles an hour, 150, 160 PSI. So he is basically having to cruise down the road at like 60 miles an hour. And the other thing is, here in Wichita, they have part shops in Wichita. He told me that all of the air brake relay valves that they have in stock, none of them match the description of mine. So he said they're probably going to have to buy the part, and he said that there are dealerships and part warehouses in town that they can buy from. And I asked him what the cost of the ones he has in stock are, and he said they were between like $30 and $70. And I said, okay, that's reasonable, because the ones I'm finding online are between like $15 and $75. So it's a fairly cheap part. So it's probably going to cost me like $200 to get this thing replaced. I suspect they're going to charge me a 1 hour of labor, which is like $120, $140. And then the part cost is probably going to be like $70. So like probably be over $200 after taxes and everything. It's probably going to be close to $250. And this was not just like a slow, get worse over time type thing. This thing just went. I started hearing a slight air leak, and I was like, what is that? And then it just kept getting louder and louder and louder. And I started noticing the air gauge going down. So this thing failed abruptly. Who knows? Maybe I've had an air leak for like 2 years that I have not been able to track down. I've had mechanics try to find it, and I cannot track the air leak down. It's a really slow air leak. It's annoying is what it is. And maybe, hopefully, this is that air leak as well. Maybe this thing's been leaking a little bit of air for a couple of years, and now it just finally failed. And this could have potentially been difficult for the mechanics to find the air leak on this, because it's leaking from like inside the part at the bottom. It's not one of the air lines going in or out of it. Just a second here. This is very stressful. I'm trying to watch all the traffic around me, the signs, my speed, all that stuff. And I'm watching the air gauges, and I'm listening to see if I tell a difference in the leak. 33 miles to go. This is the reason I like to have extra time on loads, in case something happens. And like in this situation, they're like, yeah, we can't get to you tonight. We'll have to do it tomorrow. You know, it's not a big deal. I'm still going to be on time, on schedule. I'm still not going to be late. They're not going to have to reschedule my appointments for this. But it'd be nice if they were able to squeeze me in tonight. This should only take them, like, the paperwork's going to take longer than replacing the part. Oh, so we got somebody else broken down on the other side of the road. What's that person carrying? Is it a mud flap? It looked like some kind of rug or something that they were putting on the ground so that they could crawl underneath the vehicle. Oh, breakdowns suck, but they happen all the time. Usually it's tires. Blown tires is the most common breakdown in these trucks, but parts fail all the time. 30 miles to go, and the air pressure is holding like really well. Like right when I got on the interstate, it dipped down to 95, and that was sketchy. And I was like, man, this is, and it hung out at 95 for, a little bit. And I was like, this is going to be a lot like more stressful than I thought. But now it's basically dropping down to 95, and then the compressor's kicking in and taking it up to 120. Governor's kicking off, and it's just going back and forth doing that. And the compressor's bringing it up pretty quick. So I'm going to find a parking spot. And then I'll go in there and talk with them. And hopefully a mechanic will come out there and take a look at it. And he told me whenever I get there, the part shops, because I told him I was about 40 miles away, he said, well, whenever you get here, the part shops will still be open for about an hour. He said, but we're not going to be able to put it in tonight. Should I try to put it in myself? It looks like it's really easy to put in. I'm not going to move over for this vehicle. They're way off the side of the road. Just going to maintain. So it looks easy to replace, except there's two big airlines that I don't know how to remove. I've never removed those types of airlines. The small airlines, I know how to remove those. You have to push in on them and it releases the airline, and you can pop the airline out and then you can twist them off. I don't know how to remove the big airlines. I'm not sure if it requires special tools, but if I get in there jacking with it without the proper tools and without needing to, without knowing what I need to know on how to take it off, then I could end up damaging all those air connectors, and those things are like $20 a piece. The big ones, I don't know how much they are. I don't know if that entire airline would have to be replaced on the big ones. But I could end up, causing hundreds of dollars of work getting in there trying to replace it myself. If I were at home, I might give it a whirl, trying to replace it myself. But out here over the road, where time is valuable, I don't think I'm going to risk trying to replace it myself. But one thing I am going to do is I'm going to have them verify that all of the air connectors are not leaking. That way, if they screw up, and I'm going to explain to them the reason I'm paying them to do it is so that I don't damage the air connectors and have to spend a whole bunch of extra money on the air connectors, the airline connectors. And I'm going to make them look and see that none of them are leaking. So you fuck them up, you're replacing them. You break, you buy. Because mechanics have a really big problem of breaking crap and then being like, well, it was probably like that before you brought it in. And then they refuse to, they end up charging you to fix something that they broke. They refuse to pay for their damage. 24 miles to go. Air compressor is doing really well. It's a really bad air leak. And it seems like some kind of like overpressure valve. It seems like where it's leaking air from at the very bottom, there's nothing connected there. So it seems like it's some kind of like protection valve. If the air pressure gets too high, it's like some kind of dump valve or something. "21 miles, we're getting there. We're about halfway." And we haven't gotten anywhere close to the emergency brake kick in, the spring brakes. I think the lowest we've gotten is somewhere around 95 PSI. You know what's crazy is this air leak is really loud and there's a lot of air coming out of it, and I'm able to drive with it. I remember when was I a company driver, or I can't remember. Yeah, I was still a company driver. I remember, yeah. I was a company driver with USA Truck because I remember it was one of the airbags was leaking air, and I was surprised that it wasn't the other airbag. There was an airbag that was like jacked up, like the I don't know what it's called, but there was a big chunk missing out of the thing that the airbag is like, that it goes up and down on. It's part of the airbag assembly, but whatever the center plastic piece is that it goes up and down on, there was a big rectangular chunk, not rectangular, triangular, a big triangular chunk missing out of it. And I thought that was what was going to be leaking when they, said that they found the leak and it was an airbag, but it wasn't. It was, that was the left side airbag that was all messed up, but it was the right side airbag that was leaking. And if I can see somebody walking around the right side of the vehicle, and I can't tell how far they are off the road because it's in a turn. So I have nobody behind me for about a half mile, so we're going to move over for them. So, he showed me the leak, and I put my hand under there, and I could feel a tiny bit of air coming out of it. And I was like, man, that just doesn't feel like enough air, because the truck could not build air pressure at all. It was just setting at like 0 PSI, and it would not move up from 0 PSI. I couldn't move the truck. They had to replace that part in the parking lot. I'm pretty sure they replaced it in the parking lot. I can't remember. This is like 5 years ago. Maybe I was able to get it into a shop bay. But yeah, this seems like a really bad leak, and I'm able to drive with it. And that airbag leak seemed like nothing. Could hardly feel any air coming out of it, and the truck couldn't build air pressure at all with that leak. But maybe it was leaking around a larger area. It was a little bit of air coming out of a much larger area, where this is a little bit of air coming out of a very small area. But yeah, it took almost no time at all to find the source of the air leak because it was so loud, blowing so much air. 16 miles to go. Grab a parking spot with the expectation that we're going to be staying the night. They're most likely going to want me to detach from the trailer when I go into the shop. I'll probably have them go ahead and buy the part now, and I'll just take the part in hand. And I might give it a whirl replacing it tonight. While I'm sitting there waiting for tomorrow, I might look at some YouTube videos on how to replace it and see how difficult it's going to be. It's just held in by like 2 bolts. Oh my goodness. This four-wheeler just merged on really slow in front of that truck and just refused to accelerate. So yeah, if they tell me, well, we'll figure out what the price of the part is first of all, because if they tell me it's like $400 from the dealer, then forget that. We're not going to play that game. Every time I have an air leak and I get it fixed, I hope that it fixes that air leak that I've been trying to find for the last couple of years. So, like, I'm really kind of upset, frustrated, that we had a breakdown. But I'm also a little excited that maybe this is going to fix that air leak I've been trying to find for 2 years. "14 miles. We're at 105 PSI right now." Sorry, there's a pack of vehicles going around me. $11 more miles to go. You know what? Let's just go ahead and go to Amarillo. I'm kidding. I think Amarillo's a couple 100 miles past Wichita Falls. $10 miles. We're at about 102 psi right now. Wish I had digital gauges. I really don't like analog. I really hate analog. Why do we even have analog gauges? You know, you might sit there and think, oh, we have analog gauges because, they're more reliable than digital or some crap like that. No, that's just our analog gauges run digitally. Like they're not running off of some mechanical thing. It's all digital. It's all electronic. They could just as easily output it digitally. I really, really hate electronic output, or not electronic outputs, but analog outputs, because it's hard to tell what exactly they are, like what exactly the reading is. Whereas digital, you can get, very precise readouts on digital gauges. Analog gauges, you just get rough estimates. And I have the ability to look at digital outputs on almost all of my gauges. Just a second, everybody's grabbing the left lane. Somebody, looks like a cattle hauler, just pulled off the shoulder. If they're empty, they're going to get up to speed really quick. If they're loaded, it's going to take them a while. Cattle haulers do not accelerate or decelerate quickly whenever they're loaded because of the animals. It looks like that one's empty. Well, it looks like they just took that exit right there. Like 110 Oh, we dropped quick. We went from 110 to 105 pretty quick right there. That was a little bit scary. I think it's the airbags. Whenever we come down a hill and there's more weight put onto the airbags, I think that might be it. Could just be my imagination. 6.7 miles. We're at 100 psi and climbing. Yeah, the air system, whenever the air system starts getting something wrong with it in these trucks, that's very scary because like everything runs off the air system. The brakes run off the air system, the transmission runs off the air system. So if my air pressure gets too low, the transmission will stop working. It won't be able to shift gears. Five miles, 4.6 miles until our exit. I hope Google's not going to send me someplace crazy. I have so many things that I'm thinking about right now that I didn't really do a good job of trip planning this stop, like looking at which, memorizing my exits and stuff like that, and where I should pull into the truck stop from. So I'm trusting Google a little bit here. Loves 4 miles, exit Windthorst Road. Windthorst Road. We're almost at 120 psi. That governor just kicked off. Now it's going to drop rapidly down to like 95. Just a second here. This person that's passing me is really heavy. At least they're not cutting me off. Why are they hitting their brakes? Why are you hitting your brakes? They've got their hand way up in the air like they're messing with a CB or something. And they're looking over at this lane in their rearview mirror to see if they're clear to come over. Wichita County line. Wichita Falls. Welcome to Wichita Falls. Blue skies, golden opportunities, proud of Shepherd Air Force Base. .1 miles until my exit. We're almost there. So by them telling me they weren't going to be able to get to me tonight, that tells me that this is one of the loves that is open from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. And they've already got more work than they can do before 11 p.m. So I could probably get in line to get worked on first thing in the morning at 6 a.m. And it should take them no time at all to get this thing installed. I'll see if they can't get the part today. That way, I don't have to wait until 8 a.m. Because if they have to get the part, if they wait to get until tomorrow to get the part, they're going to have to wait until 8 a.m. until the part shop's open. So they're not going to have the part in hand until like 9 a.m. So I'll be here until probably noon tomorrow or later if they don't get the part until tomorrow. Whereas, because they'll just have to squeeze me in after other jobs. They won't be able to get me in like the second. Yeah, this is the Windthorst Road exit. All right, I see the Loves right there. They won't be able to get me in the second that they get the parts in hand. They'll have to go ahead and put other trucks in. But if we can get the part now, then I can be the first person at 6 a.m. and I could be on the road by 7:30. All right, trucks enter forward. So I need to go straight. All right. And do I want to grab one of these spots? I want to try to get one of the spots on the back side of the shop. What's going on here? This is Love's employee just walking down the middle of the road. All right, there is a spot open behind the shop. That's where I want to get. Actually, you know what? I don't. I don't want to park in front of the fuel island. I'm going to be facing straight into the sun in one of these spots, but I don't want to be parked in front of the fuel island because it can be very difficult to get out of here parked in front of a fuel island. All right, there's several spots back here. Let's park next to CR England right here. Actually, you know what? Ooh, there's two spots here. Let's grab this spot next to Zapata. Oh, I think I might have cut it in a little bit too sharp. Let's pull forward. Oh, buddy, don't roll backwards on me. That's the thing about automatics, man. You don't have as much control over an automatic as you do a manual. And with my air pressure issue, like, that's making it even more sketchy. All right, looks like I'm going to move over. Might need to move over a little bit closer to Zapata. All right, that Loves person that was walking down the middle of the road is now walking past here. All right, so let's do, I'm going to go ahead and do a post-trip inspection because this might be the end of my drive shift right here. I'll go ahead and pause the video and go in and check with them so I can tell you what's going on. I'll be right back. Yeah, these assholes are wanting $300 in labor to replace it, 2 hours of labor to replace it. And and they want me to stay overnight. And they don't know what the part cost will be. They'll figure it out tomorrow. They don't want to order the part right now. They want to order it tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm not dealing with these. Like, that is insane. They're going to end up charging me like $500 for a $20 part. So I'm going to look and see what Fleet Pride is charging for this. So give me a minute. All right. I just got off the phone, Fleet Pride. They close in an hour. They have the part in stock. So I'm going to go over there and get it. They have two of them. They have one. This guy is going in the wrong way. That's the reason that this is the exit. Two trucks can't go in and out here at the same time.
Take the next right.
So they have two of them. One of them is $20, and that's the aftermarket. And then they have a Bendix one, a brand name one, that is $130. And they said, we've been having issues with the aftermarket one. And I said, well, what kind of issues? And he was like, well, they just don't last very long. I'm like, all right. I can buy 6 of them, 6 or 7 of them. They last like 2 years, then I can like carry spares on the truck. So it looks like what's going to happen is I'm going to spend $20 for this part, and I'm going to put it in myself.
Stop sign. Turn left on 6th.
Should have taken that a little bit wider. All right, so I'm probably going to come back over here to Love's and park back in Love's and replace it in their parking lot. Oh my goodness, I would hate to street park right here. Their mirrors are in the roadway. All right, I think I can see the Fleet Pride sign. There's a ton of dealerships along through here. And oh my goodness, that Love's mechanic. The little shop, the manager or the front desk person or whatever, looked at the mechanic, was like, how much to install that? Would it be an hour of diagnostics and an hour to put it in? And the mechanic goes, yeah, it sounds about right. And I'm like, are you two fucking kidding me? A second here, Spectrum's parked in the roadway. I said, you guys charge $140 an hour for labor, right? And they said, yep. And I said, you're going to charge me $300 to put that part in? And they're like, well, what would the dealer charge you? And I'm like, you're not a fucking dealer. Sorry about the language, but like that's what I said to them. I'm not sugarcoating it. I cannot stand mechanics.
Your destination is on the right.
All right, so let's. Oh, that's rough. Oh, that's rough. Oh, wow. Let me, just a second here. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to see if they'll put it in. I didn't know they had a shop. All right, we've got the part, and I've been pausing it, so let me tell you what time it is. It's 4:21 p.m. And I talked with Fleet Pride about what was happening, and they're like, oh, yeah, that, well, I forget what they called it, a manifold or a bladder or something. They said, yeah, those things fail all the time. And he said that they thought they had a kit where you could just replace the that bladder, but they're not sure if they have it anymore. And I was like, nah, I'll just replace the whole thing for $20. But they did try to talk me out of buying the aftermarket part. They said that they have a lot of issues with it. And there was a guy sitting there at the desk, another customer, and he was like, I think that's what I'm having an issue with right now. He said, I bought a couple of those, and I've had issues with them, like they don't work. Ugh. And they fail often. Yeah, I'm not about that OEM product life. The price is just too absurd. I told them, I was like, well, against your better advice, I really appreciate the advice, but I'm still going to have to go with aftermarket. The price difference is just too big. I could replace 6 of these things for the cost of one brand name. So if it doesn't last very long, then I could just buy another one. And the other customer that was there was like, yeah, well, you better go ahead and buy 2 right now. All right, there's nobody coming off the interstate. So we're not going to Love's. We're going to go to Flying J this time. What? What's going on here? All right, just double checking my Google route here. So I need to go over and then make a right, and there's going to be an on-ramp onto the interstate or highway. Flying J is just like a mile further down the road than Love's. And we're going to be changing this thing in the parking lot. I'm not looking forward to it, but to save myself $300, yeah, I'm going to do it. And that Love's mechanic was spewing, the mechanic bullshit. It's like, well, it could be, a back feed of this and, all this crap, and just spewing a bunch of crap, trying to justify his $300 price tag. And that was a really tight turn. Barely kept from going over the curb right there. And I asked Fleet Pride, if they could swap it out, and they were like, nah, we're not doing any more today. He said, I'm so backed up right now. And then finished paying for it, and I was like, yeah, it looks like I'm going to be putting it on myself in the parking lot, because I asked Love's how much they would charge to put it on, and they wanted 2 hours of labor at $140 an hour, $300 to put that on. Like, that's going to take no more than 15 minutes to replace that part, and they wanted $300 to do that. That is just crazy. All right, there's the Love's exit. We're going past that.
Use the right lane to stay on US 287 North. In half a mile, take the exit toward Texas 473, Jacksboro Highway.
All right, we're taking this next exit, and this van is just merged on. All right, I see the Flying J sign.
Texas 473. Then merge onto Central East Freeway.
God, that just really ticks me off, the like craziness of that mechanic.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto Texas 473 north.
All right, we have to yield to the ramp, so let's see if there's anybody going. All right, there's nobody coming down the ramp. And trucks cannot come in this entrance.
Right onto Texas 473
We have to go around.
on the right.
Ooh, traffic cleared up just as we got here. And damn it. Entry and exit for trucks, and it is backed up. The fuel island is backed up.
Your destination is on the right.
Oh shit. There was another entrance just a little bit down. That's not technically the Pilot Flying J entrance. Oh sweet, the truck in front of me is pulling forward. I would like to get out of the roadway, that'd be nice. Come on, go forward, you can do it. This RL Carriers can't get out because that truck is just parked in the middle of the road. Like, nobody can move. Oh my goodness, this is a cluster. All right, I'm gonna hug the left, go around to the left because I want to get one of the spots on that back row over there. I see one spot open. I want to get a north-facing spot so the sun's not shining right in the windshield. All right, what is this person doing right here? Dillon Transit. They're parking at the edge of the road. That's not a parking spot. People that don't know how to back will generally park in spots like that when there's lots of spots open, which there are a lot of spots open, but that person is choosing to park in a spot that's not a spot because they don't know how to back. All right, we're going to park right in here next to Walmart. Not looking good. Might have to redo my entire setup on this. Or we might just be able to make a bad setup work. Get her done. Oh my goodness. Doesn't get much closer than that. I was less than an inch away from Walmart's mirror. These are some pretty tight spots. Now I'm kind of thinking I should have gone to Love's. I'm not looking forward to somebody trying to park next to me in one of these tight ass spots. All right. Let's go take a look behind us. All right, we're about 8 inches away from the curb. So now I'm gonna watch a YouTube video about how to replace this thing, and then I'm gonna get back there and replace it. And I might continue driving this evening after I replace it, or I might just take a 10 here. We'll have to wait and see. But that's the drama, and you know what? Let me show you the part. Oh, that's way too close. Let me pull you out of here. So it sets in there up against the frame, like with these two bolts, and there's just 4 air lines that go into it. So it's 2 bolts and 4 air lines. And sometimes these air lines can be a little bit of a pain to remove. So the bolts, easy. My only concern is the air lines. So yeah, I'm gonna watch a video on. I know how to remove the 2 of the airlines, but the 2 big airlines, I'm not really sure on how they're removed. Yeah, these parking spots are a lot tighter than I thought they were. These are so tight that you basically need a near perfect setup in order to pull it off. We have a Landstar flatbed backing in across from me. I think it's probably a lot easier to back in a flatbed because you don't have a blind side. You can see across the trailer. But flatbedders have a reputation of not knowing how to back because a lot of the places they go to, they don't back into a spot. They just pull over there and park, and then a forklift comes over and loads them up. But this Landstar driver is doing a really good job. Nice and slow, not going too damn fast, and just going in there just about perfect. I do not have any respect for people that back into spots really fast. Those are super truckers that are trying to show off, and that is not showing off. That's just showing that you really don't know what you're doing. If you back into a spot really fast, that's extremely dangerous. Like, there could be somebody underneath the trailer. There could be somebody walking by. Like, backing is one of the most dangerous things you can do in these trucks. And you should not fly into a spot, back into a spot really fast because you think that makes you look cool, because it doesn't. It makes you look immature. Makes you look like you just got out of training and you're like, yeah, I've got everything mastered now. All right. Oh, that's not good. That person's all their air lines and electric lines and everything just laying on the catwalk. All right, so at this point, I'm just procrastinating because I'm not wanting to get out there in this 100-degree weather and replace this part. So I'm going to stop procrastinating in the video and get out there and replace it. So anyway, have a good one, and hopefully I'll be on the road soon. Bye.